William Harris sat quietly in the dining room, his eyes fixed on the cutlery on the table. For the third time in the evening, he adjusted their angles, as if looking for perfection in every little detail. The luxurious meal in front of him was still intact, untouched, just like his own life, perfect on the outside but cold and empty inside. The fire from the fireplace in the corner of the room danced softly, but its warmth could not creep into his soul. Through the large windows, twinkling Christmas lights from neighboring homes shone in, evoking a world of joy that he had long since lost. William swirled the wine glass in his hand, his eyes lost and empty, as if trying to find something that had been lost for a long time. But then, only a heavy silence remained, reflecting his lonely and cold mood most clearly. When the knock sounded, the dry sound immediately broke the silence in William Harris's mansion. He looked up, his eyebrows furrowed in surprise and annoyance. Very few people dare to come here on their own, and no one has ever knocked on the door so urgently. The knock sounded again, this time stronger, carrying a sense of urgency. Putting down the wine glass, William stood up, his shiny shoes making a steady sound on the marble floor as he made his way toward the large door. When he opened the door, a cold wind rushed in, carrying the image of a thin little girl standing huddled in a snowstorm. She was no more than 10 years old, and her trembling hands hugged the two babies wrapped in thin blankets. "Please," the little girl whispered, her voice weak mixed with the whistling of the wind. "They're sick. Help them." William stared at the pale face of the little girl and the fever-red faces of the two children. Reason told him to close the door, but the girl's desperate gaze seemed to hold him back. After a moment of hesitation, he quietly stepped aside, opening the door. "Come in," he said in a short but determined voice, letting these little people into the light and warmth of the house. She walked in trembling, leaving streaks of water on the marble floor from her wet shoes. William Harris closed the door, blocked the cold wind outside, and turned to her. She gently placed the two children on the leather sofa, her hands trembling from exhaustion. "Sit down," William ordered, pointing to a nearby chair. She hesitated for a moment before falling to her knees, her whole body as if she was about to collapse. Without saying a word, he disappeared into another room, back with a medical kit and a thick blanket. He carefully wrapped the blanket around her, then knelt down beside the two children. "They have a fever," he muttered after checking for vital signs, his skillful hand checking their pulse and breathing. "How long have they been like this?" he asked, his voice deep but clear. "Since yesterday," the little girl replied, her eyes red. "I tried to help, but they kept crying." Then suddenly there was silence. William stood up, his cold eyes becoming decisive. "They need to be rehydrated and rested." He strode into the kitchen, preparing an electrolyte solution. When he returned, he saw her whispering to one of the children, her little hands caressing their hot faces. "Give them this," he handed her the bottle, his voice commanding but not lacking in interest. The little girl took it, her hands trembling. "Thank you," she said softly, her eyes filled with gratitude. William didn't answer, just focused on checking the condition of the two children. His eyes sharp, but there was a glimmer of worry that he didn't even notice. As the two children begin to settle down, the atmosphere in the house gradually changes. William Harris, who had been accustomed to silence and coldness, now felt something different. The little girl, who introduced herself as Emma, gradually let her guard down. She sat by the sofa, her little hands constantly stroking the foreheads of the two children, whom she called Jack and Lily. "When will they get better?" she asked, her voice full of anxiety. William looked at her, noticing the exhaustion in his eyes but not missing the astonishing resilience either. "They're going to take time," he said, his voice softening. "But they'll be fine." That night, when everything was fine, he arranged a small room so that Emma could rest. "Thank you," she said, her voice trembling slightly, but her eyes gleaming with rare conviction. William looked at her small figure, an indescribable feeling surging in his heart. In the days that followed, his quiet mansion became more lively. The light laughter of young children and Emma's creaking footsteps spread throughout the house. William is no longer a man who only knows work and perfection. He began to take care of the two children, from making milk to regular health checkups. Emma, who was hesitant at first, now trusted him, and the two began sharing small but meaningful stories. William gradually realized the warmth he had long lost. He found himself changing, from an isolated person to a caring and engaged person. The house, once a symbol of coldness, is now cozy and full of life. In Emma's eyes and the laughter of Jack and Lily, he finds something he never thought he'd have: a family. As the days passed, William Harris could not ignore the urge to better understand the three little people who had suddenly entered his life. While caring for Jack and Lily, he watched Emma discreetly. She has a maturity far beyond her real age. Her eyes are always vigilant but also exude a gentle and responsible look. One evening, when the two children were asleep, William called Emma into the study. Sitting across from him, the little girl was a little worried but remained calm. "Emma, I need to ask you a few questions," he began in a low but gentle voice. "Where is your family? Where are your parents?" Emma bowed her head, her fingers groping the hem of her shirt as if trying to muster up courage. "There's no one," she said softly, her voice trembling. "My parents died in an accident. I'm the only one who takes care of Jack and Lily." William was silent, a throbbing sensation in his chest that he could not understand. "So who is the father of the two children?" he asked, his eyes sharp but not pressured. Emma looked up, her eyes filled with a deep secret. "I don't know. But my mother once said. He is a rich man, living away from us." Her words were like a lightning bolt across the peace that William had just found. He immediately secretly requested a DNA test to confirm the suspicions that were simmering in his heart. The results came after days of waiting, and the truth changed everything. Emma is not just a strange child, she was his daughter. Emma's mother, the woman William once loved but lost to her own busyness and ambition, quietly raised her child alone until she was gone. Jack and Lily, though not his blood, remain an integral part of this family. When William told Emma the truth, she was surprised, her eyes mixed with anger, skepticism, and hope. "Are you really my father?" she asked, her voice choking. "Yes," he affirmed, his voice no longer cold but deeply sincere. "I didn't know. But if I knew, I would never let you suffer like this." Emma fell silent, then burst into tears. For the first time in years, she felt she was no longer alone. William pulled her into his arms, his heart heavy with regret but also determination. "From now on, you won't have to run away or be afraid," he said, his voice hoarse. "You, Jack and Lily, is my family." When the truth comes out, William Harris's cold mansion begins to transform into a real house. Emma, who at first remained reserved and kept her distance, gradually felt the sincerity of the man she now called her father. Not only did William ensure all material needs for Emma and the two children, but he also worked hard to learn how to connect with them. Small but meaningful actions such as helping Emma do homework, holding Jack when the boy is fussy, or patiently playing jigsaw puzzles with Lily have created a strong bond. One evening, when all three children were fast asleep, Emma sat down next to William in the drawing room, the light of the fire from the fireplace lighting up her thoughtful eyes. "I still can't believe all of this is true," she said softly, her voice as light as the breeze. William stopped flipping the book on his lap, his eyes tenderly turning to her. "Me too," he replied honestly. "But we know that we can't change the past. The only thing I can do is make sure the future is better for me and the two children." Emma looked at him, her eyes gleaming as if she was struggling between old wounds and new hope. "You really never leave us?" The question made William silent for a moment, and then he put down the book, taking her little hand. "Never," he said firmly, his voice deep but determined. "You and Jack Lily are my family. And families don't abandon each other." With each passing day, Emma's trust in William deepened. She began to share more, not only her mother's stories but also her secret fears and dreams. William listened to her with a patience he had never had for anyone else, feeling his heart lighten after each of her words. Emma was no longer a little girl who carried everything alone. She has found a support, a real father. The house, once a symbol of solitude, is now filled with laughter and life. Every day, William not only learns how to care for 3 children, but also learns to heal himself. In Emma's eyes and the sweet hugs from Jack and Lily, he finds the true meaning of love and responsibility. The cold walls of the mansion have now become a warm haven, not only for his 3 children but also for himself. After weeks of caring and bonding, William Harris decided not only to help Emma and the 2 children, but also to officially adopt them as his family. This decision did not come easily. It requires patience, responsibility, and a firm commitment. One morning, as Emma and the 2 children were playing in the living room, William stood in front of the window, looking out with a deep thought. It's been a long time since he felt this kind of peace. He turned and called Emma closer, and in his eyes was both assertive and deeply affectionate. "Emma," he began in a deep but firm voice, "I've thought a lot about this. You and your 2 children are not a burden but my family. I want to officially adopt you and Jack and Lily." Emma looked up at him, her eyes wide open in surprise, and then a gentle smile spread on her lips. "Do you really want to take us?" she asked, her voice full of emotion. William nodded, a rare smile appearing on his lips. "Certainly," he affirmed, "because you and your 2 little ones are my family, and I will never leave you alone." The next day, William begins the legal proceedings to adopt Emma, Jack, and Lily. This process lasted for a while, with many difficulties and challenges, but William did not hesitate. Every time he saw Emma's grateful and trusting eyes, he felt that his decision was the right one. Finally, after many meetings with lawyers and interrogations in court, all procedures were completed. One day, he and Emma, Jack, and Lily were standing in the living room, and in front of them were official certificates. The 3 children were now his children, and he was their legal father. Since then, William has not only taken care of them materially, but has also pledged to always protect and love them like true family. He knew that life would never go back to the way it was, but he didn't want anything else. Because in his eyes, family is not only bloodline, but friends who overcome difficulties together and share joy. With each passing day, the bond between him and his children grew stronger, and William sensed that, with this commitment, he had found the true meaning of life: love, sacrifice, and family. Life in William's house gradually became filled with joy and warmth, something he had never felt before. As the days passed, the cold villa had now become a real home, where the laughter of children echoed throughout the rooms. Emma, Jack, and Lily not only blend in, but also make everything around them more vibrant. William began to realize that this change didn't just come from material gifts or superficial care, but from small but meaningful moments in everyday life. Every morning, he wakes up early to prepare breakfast for the 3 children, sometimes simple dishes that are eaten with joy by the children. In the afternoon, William sat with Emma, helping her with her homework, or playing small games in the garden with Jack and Lily. What he feels through each of these activities is the growth not only of his children, but also of himself. Previously, he lived a lonely and detached life, but now he understands that growing up is not just about perfection or success, but about the ability to share love and care for others. Emma, growing more confident and mature, has learned to face the past and its pains. She is no longer a little girl who is worried about the future, but a strong daughter who knows how to love and appreciate her new family. Jack and Lily, although they are young, but with each passing day, they show a marked development in their personalities and relationships with everyone around them. In particular, William saw the love and trust that his 3 children had in him, something he never expected. One evening by the fireplace, as the whole family gathers together, Emma turns to look at William with grateful eyes. "Thank you for everything," she said softly but sincerely. William smiled, his eyes warm. "No, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be the father I've always wanted to be." In that moment, William realized that the joy and growth he found came not only from care, but from loving and being loved itself. This is the greatest gift he has received: a family, a faith, and a meaningful life. After months of caring and sticking together, William felt like he was living a whole new life. Everything in his life seemed to be just a series of long, lonely, empty, and meaningless days. But now, every morning, he woke up to feel the warmth spreading from his small family. The house, which had always been quiet and cold, was now filled with the laughter of Jack, Lily, and Emma. Dinner together, bedtime stories, and excited mornings became precious moments he had never had. William found happiness not in wealth or success, but in the bond and love he and his children had for each other. Every day he learned to be a real father. He is no longer just a financial provider or family protector, but a companion, a person who listens and shares all the joys and sorrows of his children. Emma is no longer an anxious girl, but a confident young woman who gradually opens her heart to life and the future. Jack and Lily, innocent children, gradually mature, not only in their manners but also in the love they have for him and for each other. One morning, as the family walked together in the garden, William realized that the life he had built with Emma and his children was a new beginning, a life filled with hope, joy, and love. There is no loneliness or regret, only the days ahead with all the warmth of a real family. "Thank you," he whispered, his heart filled with love, "for giving me a new beginning." In that moment, William understood that family is not just a place to return to, but a place to start over, a place that gives us the strength to build a bright future. As the months passed, William understood what family really meant to be. In the past, he always valued perfection, wealth, and power, but now those things don't matter anymore. Family is not a concept of success or glory, but relationships built on love, care, and sharing. For him, family is a place where each person can find solace, protection, and a sense of belonging. Every time he looked into the eyes of Emma, Jack, and Lily, he saw not only the children he loved, but also the sacrifice, the unconditional love they had for him. Those were the moments that made him realize that, no matter how life changes, this connection will be the most solid source of strength, helping everyone overcome all challenges. Children's laughter, warm hugs, and evenings together by the fire were things he had never had before, and things he would forever cherish. William no longer seeks happiness in solitude or in personal success. His happiness is now the peace of seeing his children healthy, when experiencing simple but meaningful moments with them. His family taught him that love and care don't need excuses, and that sometimes the best thing in life is to be loved and loved in return. And in that very moment, William understood that family was the most precious gift he had, all he needed to feel the fulfillment in life.